Jerry inspired. I have one of the coolest, most special guests ever. I've been meaning to catch up with him for a while. So we used to train wushu together back when we were little. And then life happened. We lost contact. And then one day I saw his stuff recommended to me from multiple audience members. I was like, wait, that's Alvin. Is that the Alvin? And then I reached out to him and it was the Alvin. It was my friend Alvin. So Alvin, welcome.
Thanks, man. How old were you when we were doing wushu?
I was 10, 11.
Grade.
Yeah, you were very young. I like to say you had that like kid voice, I called it the Alvin voice. You talked like this back in the day.
Yeah. I had a lisp too back then. It's like I had a really heavy lisp.
It's funny because now that you mentioned it, I remember, but it's not something I would have, like, if you didn't help me recall it, I would have been like, oh yeah, but that's maybe part of why I called it like a baby voice, like a little voice.
I think so. I just sounded really immature. And then in high school, I had to like fix it up, but yeah.
And one of the things, and I told you this when we reconnected a few years ago, but you were always really funny. You and I, we had so much fun with training, but also just like having fun. We were always trolling
around. Yeah, we were always like fucking with each other and stuff. So you were like my best friend in wushu. You were like my first and best friend in wushu.
Oh, I appreciate that because I remember you were so talented and I was like, wow, me and him, we could really get along. And it turned out you were so cool. And then we became friends, because it could have easily turned into a rivalry, but we turned out to be really cool and we became friends.
I mean, that would be crazy just because like wushu is a sport that no one gives a fuck about in America.
Yeah.
So to like be rivals over that would just be pretty pathetic.
Yeah, exactly. When did you realize that, I want to do more with my humor? Was it something that evolved naturally or was there like an event that happened?
I took a 23andMe the other day and it came back 97% Chinese. I mean, what was the point of that, dude? What a waste of fucking money. There was no point in that at all. That's unbelievably Chinese, dude. That's just next level Chinese. Not even a little bit of Korean in there? What the fuck? When the test came back, it didn't even say 97%. It said, how about you look in the fucking mirror? I was like, all right. Good point. Probably could have saved $100. I don't know what I was thinking. I've been to family reunions in China, all Chinese people, just looking around the dinner table, seeing the same nose 15 times in a row. It's like, what I think would happen, I just look at my family tree and be like, Kobe? Like, there's no way. Fucking LeBron, too? Oh, my God. Let me join the league.
I mean, I always like making people laugh. Like, when I was a kid, I remember, like, dude, when I was in elementary school and middle school, I was, like, hilarious, dude. Like that was the peak of my funniness. And then high school, after I went through puberty, it just went away. And I've been trying to chase the middle school glory, but I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be as funny as I was when I was in middle school. It doesn't matter how hard I work. I was so good in middle school, dude.
What do you think it was? Was it partly just the way you talked?
I don't know. I was just like, I just gave less fucks back then. And now I'm like so in my head and, you just become an adult and you become in your head. But back then, like, I really didn't give a shit. And I'll never get that back. So it sucks, when you peak in middle school and then it's just all downhill. It's that's my life.
Yeah. It's funny. So I have a similar experience. Around the time we reconnected, that was the time I think I peaked, and I've been going downhill since then. And so I have a delayed peak that I've been fighting.
Sure. What it peak in what way?
I think athletically, because after we reconnected, I started having head tension problems that caused me sometimes to not even be able to leave the house and stuff. It was pretty bad. Yeah, and then started getting hurt everywhere. So one of the reasons I stopped martial arts training was I kept getting hurt, right? So I was like, oh my God, it's like history repeats itself.
Yeah. That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, either way, it opens up avenues for new things. Like I started chess and then I started building live events for my commentary viewers. And I, reconnected with people and I've been just telling other people's stories more, which is something I've always enjoyed.
Your storytelling?
I wanted to be a journalist, and my first job out of college full time was in journalism. But back then, so I graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
In that era was such a tough time for anything traditional media because everything digital media was just kicking their ass, for lack of a better word, and they were trying to adapt.
Sure.
And it was not a good time to be in traditional media. I was working at Fox 29 in Philadelphia, so local news.
Oh, wow.
And it was not a good time. Like they were trying to get on Facebook and I kept telling them Facebook isn't the place to get organic stuff. They want you to pay, and the news director wouldn't understand that. He wouldn't listen. And so all their Facebook efforts were just in vain. It was and I was vindicated because Facebook just kept treating its legacy media worse and worse. And now Facebook is back to, we want you to see your feed again from your friends.
It's so funny though, because Facebook is like so fucking old. Like,
it's so old, and it's mostly our parents using it.
You know, it's interesting because like I'll post like videos of stand-up across different platforms. I'll do like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And it's literally 3 generations of like, it's like Facebook is like Gen X and boomers, and then Instagram is like millennial, and then TikTok is very Gen Z. So the comments I receive on everything is like very different across like the platforms, just because like the age difference.
Yeah, exactly. What is very different, since I'm a millennial? What's very different from Gen Z compared to millennials?
I think Gen Z is actually less sensitive as a crowd. Like when you perform for Gen Z, you can actually get away with more. There's a lot of millennials that get sensitive about certain topics more so. Because I think that's just how society works, is like, because with the millennials, that was like, 2016 to 2020 was like peak like social justice, whatever. And that was started with millennials. And I think anytime society goes too far in one direction, there's like a pushback on the other. So then, 2020 was peak, like canceling random people you never heard of.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to say whatever. And then I think Gen Z is just kind of tired of it. And then the next generation will probably be, go back, but just kind of goes back and forth,
Yeah. History rhymes, like I always say.
Yeah. But I will say, like, I think millennials are more, like Gen Z people are actually more progressive than millennials. Even though millennials kind of get offended more, I think Gen Z, they're less like racist.
Mm-hmm.
I think because like growing up, we're millennials. Growing up, we heard like a bunch of crazy shit.
So much stuff.
Yeah, that like Gen Z wouldn't, they've kind of like, they've done a better job at like correcting it. And not to say that they don't have their problems, but like it is better. So, the fact that they're less sensitive, but also less racist, I mean, that's kind of the direction you want to go in, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the goals of comedy is to expose things in a funny way and get people to think about it.
Yeah. Millennials are interesting because they'll do the thing where it's like I feel like it's very performative, their outrage, and then it's not like uniform. So like they'll be like, okay, if you're like a lesbian or you're like black, you have like racial injustices towards you, and obviously they do, right? But like if you're like Asian, then they'll be like, oh, you're like just as privileged as a white person. I think a lot of millennials think that way, and it's just like that's just not true at all. I'm not comparing the struggle of Asians and black people. Obviously, black people have it worse, but like, I mean, there's so much racism towards Asians. And
you're a younger millennial, and I'm like a middle millennial. But like you mentioned some like the stuff we heard in school back in the day. Crazy. Said towards us, everyone, black people, white people, Latino, they all said stuff to us. It's like, okay, you think we have it easy?
Well, we didn't even like think it was racism. We just thought it was like, oh, that's just how it is. And then
exactly. We just thought that's how it was. We're like, that's how America is. We didn't even have that. Oh, you can pull the race card.
So I don't know. It's good. I think I like it. Like I think society is turning in the right direction, and I don't want to like get into like politics and stuff, but it's people on both sides of the spectrum, like extremists, are just they're fucking crazy. You think, right? That's why your comedy's so good. Like you have cerebral comedy. Like your comedy gets people to think, and that's why so many of my viewers from so many different walks of life love your stuff. They've actually referred my stuff to you. Yeah, I've had multiple people send me your stuff. Oh wow,
it fucking sucks. I'm not intimidated at all. It's annoying, dude. It's gotten to the point where like if I'm walking behind a lady at night, she doesn't even walk faster. She like slows down, like the coast is clear, and then she walks behind me, like, about to mug this motherfucker right here, man. Leave me alone, please.
So, do you remember your first stand-up show you ever did?
I remember the first time I did it. Yeah, it was. I think it was in DC maybe. And then, so the first time I did stand-up was like 2015 or something. It was in like DC. I did like an open mic, and it went terribly. And then I didn't do stand-up for like another 2 years. So I really started in like 2017. But I mean, like, even 2017, like, so I started in 2017, and then that whole year I was in Atlanta doing stand-up, and I was just bombing. Like, I was just the worst comic. I think I'm the worst comic I've ever seen, like, starting out. Because like when you go to open mics, you see a lot of people like just starting out. Like I was worse than all of them, I think. And then you slowly get better. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was a terrible start. But I think that's why I kept with it, is because I feel like if you're bad at something but you still like it, that means you actually like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kept going.
Do you remember the first show where you felt like, oh my God, I have it now. I'm getting better.
When I moved to New York, so 2017 to 2018, I was in Atlanta, and then January 1st, 2018, I moved to New York City to do stand up, which is crazy because like I was nobody, and like I was just moving to New York to do like open mics, which is just like, I remember lying in bed the night before being like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I still have those moments all the time.
Me too, by the way. I feel that all the time. So people like you and I, we stick together. We guys
Well,
stick
it's
together.
because you're just doing like a different type of thing instead of like you're kind of like doing your own thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so when things like because when income isn't stable or you're having a slow couple of months, you're like, what the fuck? Like, did I just completely fuck up my own life? Especially since like, you know, you like knowing us, we probably did like pretty good in school. We could have done like a corporate. I mean, dude, I was a management consultant right out of college. Like, and I'm like, I just left it all to like do open mics. I'm like, am I just the biggest idiot on the planet? But when I moved to New York, 2018, I was doing like, this is crazy. I would never do this again. And I would never recommend people do this, but I was doing 30 open mics a week.
Wow.
So I get up like 4 to 5 times a day, every day. And I definitely got a lot better in that year. And then by the end of like, so I did that for like a year and a half. And by the end of that period, I was still bad, but like for an open micer, I was good.
Oh, that makes sense.
But at that time, like when you're 2 years in, you think you're really good. All stand-ups do. And then like year 2, 3, you think you're good. And then by year 5, you realize you're dog shit. It's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Whereas like, so year 5, you realize you're dog shit. And then year 6 and 7, you kind of get better. And then I'm on year 8, 8.5 now. I'm almost at 9. So I don't know.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. Like,
Did
I feel like I
you
just started.
take any classes or anything like that to boost your skills?
No, because I don't think you can teach stand-up. It's just something that you have to learn by doing it. Because like if you have to like think about it, right? Like if you have to describe, like if you have to truly pinpoint why someone is funny, you can't really describe it. It's just like you could say like, oh, they're like angry, or but there's plenty of angry, unfunny comedians, and it's like you can't really pinpoint it. So it's kind of like this intangible thing that you're chasing after that you have to like hone. So you just kind of just do it, and then you kind of get a grasp. I mean, most people don't. I mean, a lot of people don't like. That's great. It's a crazy thing. Like if I knew when I started how many people just wouldn't make it or how hard it would be, I wouldn't have started. But I'm too deep in it to quit.
Yeah.
If there was a way to go back, I might go back.
You know, 2 things about that. One is the reason I asked the question about classes is because when I was in LA, there was a guy I met who by 2016 he went back to the UK, but back then he was still working in LA and he was taking classes at Groundlings. Groundlings apparently had like a stand-up comedy little course. He was taking classes and he invited me to one of these like performances. And
was it the graduation showcase, like after they finished the class?
he actually went to the Comedy Store, or one of the Comedy Store adjacent places. I forgot. I don't think it was called the Comedy Store. Again, I get my names very bad, but he went, and like everyone else there, you could tell were like been doing it for like 10 years. He was the only one who like was like just took a Groundlings course and then like was doing comedy. You could see it very clearly. So that I'm saying that, one, I mean, I applaud him for trying, but 2, you could tell there was a difference. Like courses don't prepare you. You know, he was.
Oh no, it's literally reps. I mean, the best way to describe it is like when you get on stage, you have all these preconceived notions of what you have to do to be funny. Like that's okay. Here's the best way I can describe it: is like you think you have to do things to be funny. And then there's a lot of things in your head. You're like, I have to deliver it this way. I have to be goofy. I have to whatever. I have to write like my writing has a punchline. And then getting better at stand-up is slowly removing every preconceived thing. And then just doing what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the process. And that's why it takes so long, is because like removing those mental blocks, like, is deep rooted in your head.
Yeah.
So it just takes time to like remove it.
A story from his stand-up that really supports your point. The only point in his, because this was an event, I believe, to support him. It was not a free event. Like, I even paid money to support him. So like everyone paid to get in.
Yeah.
Right. So like they each got, I believe, 10 minutes. So imagine 10 minutes of not making people laugh. But his last joke, I guess he finally got out of his head, and he was very spontaneous. He like knelt down and showed genuine emotion, and it made everyone laugh, even though it was like a bad joke. But you can tell the spontaneity helped. Like he finally got out of his head. Basically, he had a great punch. He had a great, not punchline. He had a great set of talking about labioplasties. You know, they're kind of silly, right? Why would people get labioplasty? So like the joke could have gone very funny places, but he didn't push it enough.
Sure.
And so like it wasn't funny, and you could tell he was holding back, and he was also really British, so he already came off as like really uppity. Sure. And then it's like, but in the end, he finally let loose, even though the punchline wasn't good. But you're like, oh, this guy had potential. This guy had potential.
Yeah, it's like sometimes people have moments of like brilliance, but then you're like, then all that conceptual thinking comes back into play, and then you become self-conscious again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just learning not to give a shit. It like truly, you can't fake it. I mean, you just can't fake it.
The second thing I was going to say to support your point is I took an acting class in LA, and this class was great because you know what half the class was? It was just drills and improv exercises to get out of your head. They're like, before we can even teach you anything about any acting method, you have to get out of your head. So we spent half the classes getting out of our head with all these spontaneous exercises.
Yeah. There was this TikTok, because I was watching this TikTok about acting, and I think there was a TikTok comment that just nailed it completely on the head. It was like, I feel like acting is just how much you can not cringe at yourself.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what we learned.
Like that to everything. Like fighting, right? Like fighting is like fighters, they always say like it's 10% physical and like 9% mental. And it's like, dude, that's what separates, like, that's what makes great people great, is like their ability to get out of their head and just like, you know, deal with all their internal like shit, you know?
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather was like, dude, you know, there's people in the gym that are like better than me, but when the lights come on, like I'm the best.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So how do you usually come up with material?
My process is like, well, sometimes I'll just think of an idea, like going through life, like an idea will just pop in my head. I don't write it down. I just go on stage and I just say it, and then I just talk it out. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of tell it like I would to, like, if I was telling it to a friend or whatever. And I don't try to like search for a punchline. I just say how I feel about it. And then if it gets a laugh, then I'll keep it. And if it doesn't get a laugh, then I'll keep working on it until I want to kill myself because it's bombing so much. And then I'll probably give up and then maybe bring it back. But yeah, this is a simple process. I mean, you just talk about the idea. If it gets a laugh, you keep it. But I don't write, like a lot of people write word for word. I don't write. I don't like that, just because. When you write it down, it's a little too cutesy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, when you have to say it to a crowd that's like waiting to laugh, you get right to the point and you say it in a more direct way, and your punchlines are way more like, I don't know, just speaking it is just very different than like the written word, spoken word. So yeah, I like to just do it on stage. And it involves a lot of bombing. I bomb a lot when I'm doing new stuff. If you ever see me headline, I always take out like 10 minutes of my set to like try new shit, and it always goes terribly. But
wow, that's very bold of you. It's like never play it safe. That's great.
Well, if the rest of the show is good, it doesn't matter. That's the good thing about doing a longer set. You can't do that in New York where like sets are like 15 minutes. You can't fuck around for 10. I mean, in a 15-minute set, I'll throw maybe 3 new jokes in there. But for a headlining set, you can do 10 minutes of trash. And if the rest of the show is good and then you close on something strong, it doesn't matter. Usually the crowd is if I'm doing well, the crowd's like bought into like the show that they like to switch up, you know? It's kind of like even if they don't laugh, the spontaneity of it is like fun to watch.
Before I even had fight commentary breakdowns, one time there was a wushu performance. The Beijing team came to the DC area. This was 2011, and the summer of 2011.
Yeah, I've seen one of those. It's
and
really great.
randomly just I was emceeing, and it was kind of like that. It was like I just because there's a lot of pressure. The coach yelled at me like, "You better do this well," and then somehow a switch happened, and I was just spontaneous. And eventually, the crowd bought into it, and then whatever I would say, they would laugh at. So I see like that was probably the only time I was like, "Wow, this is what happens when you win a crowd over," and that's when how you feel when you're like, "Okay, I have them. Let me experiment. Even if it's not as good, they'll still laugh because they appreciate me."
It's big. Like if like a comic is able to fill their like a club with all their own fans instead of like random people, it becomes so much easier just because they like the person. That being said, like most of the times when I bomb now, because before when I would bomb, it's just because I sucked. But now when I bomb, it's because I'm either like trying a bunch of new shit or they just hate like my sense of humor, because comedy's subjective, right? So they just hate like my sense of humor and they hate me as a person. And that's fine. You know, that's like people have different tastes, and like I know my personality is like it can be polarizing. So when I bomb now, it's because the crowd just hates like me as a person. And that's kind of hard to accept when you start, right? That's why like you're kind of fake on stage when you start. It's because like, oh, I don't want them to hate who I am, so I can just act fake and they can hate like this fake persona. But it's like, no, just be you, and if they hate you for who you are, it's fine, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you headlined?
It was back in 2022. It was in Houston. It went pretty good, surprisingly. I feel like I didn't really have the time back then, but I was able to just stretch. But then I didn't headline for like another 2 years, and then like 2024, a little bit at the end of 2023, I started headlining like a lot.
What is it usually, as in what does it take to headline? Is it just some promoter sees some of your stuff online or gets good word of mouth recommendations? What's the process like?
Well, now it's kind of fucked up because a lot of clubs just care about your following. So even if you're not a good stand-up, like if you have like can draw a crowd, they'll book you. But before it was literally like you're in the comedy scene. There's like you have recommendations. There's word of mouth. You can just headline a club, and you know make whatever $2,000 a weekend or whatever. I mean, comedy wages haven't changed since like the 1980s. So all these clubs are just like ripping you off. But yeah, a lot of times the comedian will be like the person who's paid the least out of everyone in the showroom, like the waitresses, like the comedian's getting paid the least for the night, which is really fucked up.
And usually the comedians don't get the tips like the waitresses and the
We
bartenders.
don't get shit. They just will fuck you, and then you're just like, great. I mean, there's some good clubs out there, but most of them will just completely fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think like you have to like if as a comic, like from a comedic perspective, if you're trying to headline, I think because a lot of comics have like dropped multiple hours of material, but it's not. None of them are good. Like some comics have like released like 4 or 5 specials, and none of them are good. And it's like you gotta. I think as a comic, you gotta get to a point where like you have 15 minutes. That's like incredible. Like you need 15 minutes that are just like you're killing. You're killing. Work on that first before you like say like, oh, I'm gonna drop like 3 new hours. It's like, dude, because it's a bar, right? Like if you're never able to break a threshold of like how good a joke can be, then you'll just never progress. No matter how much material you write, it's just gonna be mediocre material. So I'd say if you can write a killer 15, you can write like a killer 45. So once you're at that 15, that's like you're killing, then you'll know like you're almost there, I think.
Probably my favorite comedian, George Carlin. His sets were like killer 15s after killer 15s, right? You could literally find like a 15-minute and then he moves on to the next 15-minute. I don't know how many years it took him to get there, but he took that approach. It's like sometimes like before he started his next 15, because maybe he worked on the joke already, the crowd would already know, oh, it's this one. And then they'd already like anticipate. They're like, yes, it's this one. But it's better this time.
Carlin's your favorite, huh? That's arguably the greatest of all time, right? It's interesting because there's like a generational disconnect when I watch him. You know, like for all the comics I love, Carlin's their favorite. But all the comics I love, it's like their generation below, just because there's like that disconnect. You know, I'm sure if I was like older, I'd think he's brilliant. But I watch it, and I'm like, I can tell this is brilliant, but it just doesn't register with me on the same level as watching like a Burr or like a Chris Rock or someone.
That makes sense. Yeah. So growing up, it was watching Chris Rock, Bill Burr. Those were the comedians you watched?
Yeah, I think like my top is like I have 4 comedians at my top. It's like Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Burr, and Louis. And I think they're like kind of tied for like being number one. I think Chris Rock is kind of underrated. I don't think he's in many people's like a lot of people wouldn't say like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. I could put him there though, just because his '90s shit was like incredible.
Yeah,
it was really iconic.
I think for me, since I was studying too hard in high school, right? I missed when the Chappelle show came on. So I missed the first initial Chappelle craze because I was too busy. Like, but he came out when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so I think if I went about life differently, I mean, my biggest regret is just working too hard in high school, right? I burned myself out. So by the time I got to college, I was burnt out for 4 years.
What do you guys?
Walter Johnson was my high school. And then I went to University of Pennsylvania. So I was an Ivy Leaguer. I was a burnt out Ivy Leaguer.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I went to UVA. I couldn't get into
UPenn school.
Yeah, I applied to UPenn. I couldn't get in.
UVA is a great school. Did you work really hard at UVA too?
Yeah, I worked really hard at UVA and in high school too, but it didn't pay off. Like, because if I like worked hard in high school and I got into like UPenn, I would have like fucked around in college. But because like I didn't satisfy my ego, I had to work really hard for another 4 years, and then I got like a good job, and then that was enough to like satisfy my ego. And then I was like, okay, what do I really want to do? But it's so stupid. I mean, I wish I started comedy when I was young. I mean, who cares about what other people think? Who cares about like this prestige stuff? It's just all stupid.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, I wanted to make YouTube videos in high school, and I wish I just like had the balls to to do it, because what I would do is I knew how to upload videos. I would upload like Chinese music that I ripped from like a VCD.
Yeah.
And it's like I knew how to upload. And I should have just had the balls to just because, you know, let's say you have enough money to get a camera, just get a camera. Like I should have just done it. But, you know, you go back, you're like, oh, these are the things I should have done. Especially I felt so passionately about it back in the day. I was like, this is a way for expression that I've never had. You know, Kung Fu was the closest I had to expression, but it wasn't enough because you and I would fuck around in the class. Right? So Kung Fu was not enough for expression. We needed extra expression on top of Kung Fu.
Right.
I was like, well, YouTube's perfect. You could all the like. I remember one time we spoke gibberish to each other, the whole class, and people were like, what's wrong with you two? Like, you could do that on YouTube. That was the draw of initial YouTube. Now I don't know, but back then it was like you could be a spontaneous.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a little sick, I think. So you were missing for a while. You came back, and we were so excited you were back. And then so that first day, I was like, Alvin's back. Because me and him are fucking around. The first class he's back. I was like, Alvin's back. And even when we were leaving, like we were walking to our cars and we were still shouting gibberish at each other.
Yeah, it's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
How is it now doing it full time? I guess my question, I'll be more detailed about it. Do the gigs come to you, or is it more like you still have to be on your feet all the time, go find and book gigs?
No, it's definitely less that way. I was definitely doing that like 2 years ago, like emailing everything everywhere I could. But now it's more, I mean, I still like go out and get it. Like I email like a decent amount. But like in the city, it's kind of, because like I'm basically at every club besides like a couple. So like those spots kind of like I just send in my availability and they'll give me spots. But like, on the road,
that's cool.
Yeah. On the road, I'm still kind of like trying to set stuff up by myself and stuff like that. So I think it just gets easier. I think life just gets easier. You know, I was gonna say, I forgot to mention this, but like, yeah, like you wanted to do like YouTube in like high school, right? I don't know. That's like when you realize like when you have like a kid or something, like you have to like encourage them to do what like, because they're naturally gonna do some shit, and then you kind of have to like just get behind it, because you can't, if you force them into doing so, because like even weird things, right? Like Mr. Beast was really into YouTube too. And like, if you're a parent, you're like, what the fuck is my kid doing?
Yeah.
But like the dude's a fucking trillionaire now or whatever. Or like if a kid like is really into like video games and like, I don't know, they might be a streamer someday, or they might like be a professional game. It's like, you kind of have to be like, encourage like your kids' professions, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, that's the thing, is like, again, it's like getting in your own head and like having all these preconceived notions. It's never good. You know, it always works out better if you just like kind of drop all that and just do what you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I like watching your channel though, because you're like really good at bridging like a cultural gap between like what's happening in China and then just like letting the American viewers like know what's going on, especially people who are like interested in traditional martial arts. Because I'm always like, I refuse to believe that there's no practical application for like, all those Shaolin stuff, all the Shaolin techniques and like Shiba. And because I think there is, I think they've just been training the wrong way. And I think that like all the tradition was wiped out during the Boxer Rebellion, but it's just like, dude, it just makes a lot of sense. Like when I watch like the technical application, it just makes so much sense. I'm like, there's no way that no one can like revive this, So I'm always posted like, oh, is anyone like on the forefront of like reviving traditional Chinese martial arts? So it's good because there's a bunch of Chinese stuff that like people just don't understand, that like you're basically like the medium for that.
Obviously, you're Taiwanese American. You have some stuff about being Asian American, right, in your sets and stuff
You said
that.
What? I'm what?
You're Taiwanese American, right?
No, I'm Chinese.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were. Yeah. Okay. All right. But so you're Chinese, and you incorporate the Asian American experience into your art, right? Into your stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process like there?
So I don't try to do it too much just because there's been so many Asian comics that have done it. It's kind of like it's pretty exhausted, I feel like. If I have a take, it's only because it's something I never heard before. And it's not like, it doesn't lean into like harmful Asian stereotypes. Because growing up, like I just saw just Asians get shit on in any type of comedic. And it was like annoying because I'm like, it was funny like the first time, but then I just kept hearing it. It was fucking annoying. So if I do it, I try to come up with like a unique perspective that's not like belittling Asians, just because I've just seen it a lot, if that is, yeah. So it's just like, it's with any other subject, right? You want to be original. You just want to be not a hack. So I just approach like any Asian jokes like the same way. It's like, oh, I haven't heard that perspective before. Let me talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think people who tell a lot, like comedians who tell a lot of Asian jokes, I feel like a lot of them might have grew up in like where they were the only Asian person. So their identity is very rooted in being like a token Asian guy. Whereas like, we did wushu. So we were around a lot of other Chinese people. So growing up, I wasn't like, oh, I'm like really Asian. I just felt like a person because everyone around me was like Asian too. So I was like, I just thought of myself as like an individual,
Yeah. And most of us had many family friends that were Asian. So we never felt like token Asian ever.
No, so like family holidays, like any holiday, like you just meet up with a bunch of other Asian kids, like Chinese school every Sunday, every weeknight, you go to wushu, more Chinese people. So yeah, I mean, I think like it's good. It's good for your self-esteem because if you grow up like as a token person, I think a lot of time you get bullied a lot or you just get shit on a lot. That's why like I think like a lot of like Asians like who grew up in China, right, or grew up in like the motherland or whatever, I feel like they don't have like confidence issues that a lot of like Asian Americans do.
Yep.
Yeah, just because like they're like, I'm just a person. I'm not like I'm not treated like a second class, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one of the clips I saw of your comedy, you were able to turn lemons into lemonade, basically. Like I remember you were talking about how, oh yeah, you had that lung thing, and then you managed to turn it into a really good stand-up set. So what is your process to turn the lemons into lemonade? Like I was so impressed. I'm like, man, Alvin is really able to just have fun with things that other people be like, ooh.
My left lung has collapsed on me 10 times in my life. True story. Yeah, this lung collapsed on me 10 times in my life, man. And one of the worst parts about your lung collapsing is you can't lean forward because it hurts your chest. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that shit. So that meant like anytime I had to go pick something up, I just looked like a sorority girl posing for a picture. Yeah, anytime I had to go pick something up, I dropped down like this. I dropped down like this. Delta Gamma! And it was really bad if I dropped something on the floor because then I had to drop down. That was great, thank you. But we'd always ask the doctor, we'd be like, why does my lung keep collapsing? And the doctor would be like, well, we don't know why that happens, but what we can tell you is that it'll happen again. We were like, that was the worst answer ever. Not only did you not answer a question, you gave us bad news we didn't ask for. That's like if a kid asks his dad for help on math homework, and dad's like, listen, man, I don't know much math. What I can tell you is that you're adopted. That's what I can tell you, right, champ? But they eventually did a procedure. It fixed my lung. But one of the consequences was I couldn't carry heavy items on my back after this happened, all right? So this lung thing had happened junior year in high school. That means in high school, I wasn't allowed to carry a regular backpack. Which meant for a couple months in high school, I get a rolly backpack. You guys know? You guys know that this dude, one of these things got drag along? You know how much of a fucking loser I look like with that thing? Dude, I walked into school every day like I was going to the airport, all right?
I mean, I think that's how people get through hard situations, is like just make humor out of it, right? Like Louis C.K. had a great quote where he was like, saying a joke is too terrible to say is like saying a disease is too terrible to cure. And it's like, dude, if you, because like I've heard it from a lot of like military people that like the sense of humor in like anyone in the military is like very dark. It's because like they're going through such fucked up shit that they have to just fuck with each other and like say fucked up shit, and it gets them through it. And it's true. Like I've noticed that a lot of people who get offended really easily on either side, right? Because like obviously woke people get offended, but like far right people get offended too at some stupid shit. So it's like they're pussies as well. Yeah. And if you just get easily offended at shit, you really haven't had a tough life.
Yeah.
You really haven't been through anything, because the way to get through shit is to laugh.
Yeah.
So anytime I see someone get offended, I'm like, yo, you're a bitch. Like you're just a bitch. You've been through nothing. Like you're just entitled.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I say some shit that like I'm punching down or whatever. It's just like, and someone gets offended. I'm like, you're punching down right now because you're offended. You haven't had a tough life, and you're telling other people what they can or cannot say. It's like, I don't know. You just have no right to like say anything because you just been through nothing.
I had that same thought last night. It was really funny because I cover a lot of the Kung Fu Tested, and some of it does well, some of it doesn't do well, right? Yeah. One of these coaches that was featured in my video, again, he never expressed it to me 2 years ago, but apparently he's been holding it in for 2 years. So yesterday he finally called me. He was like, basically, I hurt his feelings, and I didn't intend on it because I didn't portray him badly. I just gave more credit to the guy he was sparring because the guy did better. And so he was so offended. He was like fully laying it out on me. And I'm like, I understand. But I'm like, when I got off the phone, I thought about it. And then I woke up I thought about it more. I'm like, man, this guy just, all he was doing was he was telling me he's offended. And he like held it in for 2 years. I'm like, dude, you make a living teaching Kung Fu. Like, be proud of it. Who cares if some YouTuber didn't give you enough credit? And I think I did. But even if I didn't, okay, like, who cares?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So you phrased it for me a different way. Like, today when I woke up, basically I had that thought, but I wasn't able to phrase it as well as you could. It's like, dude, like you just haven't had tough times that like you were offended for 2 years. Like
crazy. It's like, forget about it. Like, and obviously like he's not sparring enough, or else like the CTE would have taken care of that, you know? It's like, he's not going to remember that if he's really sparring that much.
Yeah.
Go to a boxing gym and get a concussion, dude. Seriously.
Are you pretty close to having a Netflix special? Tell me about, everyone's always like Netflix special. Tell me about that.
No, I'm not close at all. I mean, I have, there's like 45 minutes that I think like, I have a 45 to like 50-minute set that I think is like pretty good that I want to release. But I think, again, like the industry, I mean, I don't know. Like I just, right now I'm having trouble like finding like representation. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, or at least I don't see it on the horizon. I mean, I could self-produce something, but I don't even know. I that might be my only option right now, is to kind of like self-produce something and then release it on YouTube and see how it goes. But yeah, the material is ready. The stand-up part is ready. It's just the business side that kind of
that makes sense. Well, maybe that's something we do for you in the future. We'll have to plan something in the future. I can't guarantee, but like that's something that I do have the equipment. So yeah, we'll figure something out in the future. But yeah, it's so funny because 10 years ago, right? Whenever there'd be open mics, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, our next guest with a future upcoming Netflix special. That was like the golden standard, right? It's like you aspired to have that Netflix special. Yeah. And I think now, just because of how everything's changed, very likely more and more people will self-produce or just
I think so.
yeah.
That where it's going. And then like industry doesn't want to like invest in you unless they see you already, unless you've already blown up, basically. So it seems like you kind of have to just put in the work yourself, which is fine. You know, it's like it's part of the business. It's fine.
Yeah.
Seeing people blow up is crazy though, because I've seen a lot of people who went from nothing to like Shane Gillis I met in 2019. We were doing a roast battle and he was judging one of the things I was roasting. And like just to see him like become literally like the biggest comic on the planet was crazy. Like I knew him through not well, but like I saw him around like the city, just like doing club spots, and now he's huge and it's crazy. And then like Marcelo Hernandez is like an SNL guy, who's like really big now. I think he's like might be like SNL's most famous cast member right now. But I remember like barking with him in the street at like the Grizzly Pear, and we were like on the same show together.
That's amazing.
So much more successful than me.
Wow.
And he's great. He's very talented, and like it's crazy seeing people blow up. You know.
Yeah, I gotta find your roast battles. I haven't seen any of your roast battles before. I gotta find some.
No, they're not. I don't think they're like on. They're not like online. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. But I do appreciate roast battles. I think roast battles are some of the funniest stand-up comedy things ever.
I hate that shit. I'm too sensitive to like deal with that. I would do it. I did it like a decent amount, but like, yeah, it's brutal. Like when you roast someone and then it like bombs, you feel extra stupid because you're trying to make someone else feel dumb, and then you end up being the dummy, and it's just like,
oh, I never thought about that. It's an extra layer of like you gotta not give a F, right? It's an extra layer of that.
It's a different thing. Like there's some like comics who aren't good at roast, and then there's some roasters who aren't good at stand up.
Yeah.
Because it's a different art form.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite different. So, and there's some people I've gotten really good at. Like I've judged like roast battle a couple times recently, and like the level that these guys, because it's like a couple years ago, all roast battle was like, oh, what's the stereotype about this race or whatever. But now people are getting like really creative and absurd with their punchlines, and it's like the level is like really high now. So it's really cool to watch.
That's really good to hear too. It just shows the art is evolving.
Yeah, which is it's just cool. You know, I think anything can be done like well, because roast battle isn't. I don't think it's the most respected like form of stand-up, but like when it's done well, it's like it's also great. Like crowd work, like a lot of people shit on crowd work now, and they think it's stupid, but like when crowd work is done well, I mean, it's fucking crazy, and nothing kills harder than like well done crowd work too.
Yeah.
So it's anything done well is great.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously probably one day you're going to self-produce. What maybe is your plan 10 years down the line? Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I have no plan, which is why my career isn't bigger. But I'm too lazy to do that. I just kind of try to be as good at stand-up as possible, and then hope everything kind of comes out from that, which is not a good strategy, but that's just the way I want to do it. I mean, well, I don't know. I have no plan. I'll be homeless. That's my
plan. During an average show, what is the makeup of the comics like? Are you usually the only Asian, or is it more than one Asian comic?
Depends on the show. I mean, most of the time I'm the only Asian one, just because like there aren't even that many Asian people in the States. So like Asian comics, but sometimes there'll be like, I mean, there's a couple really funny Asian comics. Not like obviously Ronnie Cheng and Ali Wong are great, but like there's ones that you haven't really heard of that are like great too. And so sometimes we'll be in the same lineup, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's not that rare. No, it's not that rare. I'd say like most of them, maybe like 10%, 20% of the shows I'm on have like one other Asian person. Maybe probably more like 10%, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I remember when I was in middle school, right? It was that fan. He was probably the first person to really break through the mainstreams.
Yeah.
That fan was when I was in middle school. And then when I went to college, during the opening week to welcome freshmen, an Asian comic came, Shane Wang, who he's really doing very well now.
Great.
Yeah. So I was like, back then I was like, wow, he was so funny. I was like, and then I searched him up 2 years ago. I was like, whoa, this guy's all over Netflix. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing theaters. He's doing great. I think he opened for Ali Wong for a long time.
Wow.
He's doing great. You know, that fan, it's funny because like a lot of like the younger Asian kids, like the next generation, they'll talk about like that fan or like comics from that because they were doing like very heavily Asian material, and a lot of it was kind of like it was like the Asians were the punchline, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Types. But it's like you have to realize at that point that was progressive.
Yeah.
Because the younger generation will be like, oh, fuck these people. But it's like you have to have that before you have like a Sheng Wang or like a Steven Yuan where they can really be individuals, because America wasn't even introduced to Asians. Most Americans haven't even met an Asian at that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you needed that step. So
Yeah.
those guys like really deserve nothing but respect because like they were trailblazers, and the amount of shit that they had to go through was probably insane.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, you got to respect like the older generation, and it's good if your work is outdated. I mean, that means society's progressing. That's a good sign, you know. So it's just all good, I think.
It's so funny because some people would criticize Chris Rock, right, for a lot of his, not a lot, but there's a big part of his comedy is like, oh, black people are the punchline kind of thing. But again, it's that thing. It's like, well, if maybe some of that stuff doesn't work anymore, it shows society's progressed. It's exactly like you say with that.
Like, you know, like the specific bit, because I can't really think of, because I feel like all his bits where he's like talking about race, I feel like it's very nuanced. I don't know. Maybe if I was black, it'd be different. But like I didn't feel like he was talking down about black people or like putting them down in any way.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's like I never felt like he was putting them down. Yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Because like there's some Asian comics were kind of like, it was like kind of like putting Asians down.
Yeah, Esther Koo, who was also with the Dat fan crowd. Esther Koo was the perfect example. Like she was putting herself down all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing, right? Because I've seen her live recently, and it's like, I think like to do it back then was okay, but to do it now, you have to realize like you can like you can just be an individual now. It's times are changing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So she's still doing comedy. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I saw her like a couple years ago. Yeah. The Stand, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't know her personally. I've never really met her personally. I don't think she even knows I exist.
Just looked her up. It looks like, yeah, she's in the New York area like you. So that makes sense why you would sometimes cross paths with her.
Oh, is she in New York right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen her.
Tell me about the emotions. I mean, we talked about, okay, sometimes knowing when to not give. And then also like sometimes, oh, you're bombing. How do you feel? What do you feel right before, like the 5 minutes before you're going to go on stage? What goes on in your head?
Well, I always feel nervous. I don't know about other comics, but I always feel really nervous. And then while you're on stage, if there's someone that you know watching you, you can feel really self-conscious about everything. And then obviously, you know, you're thinking about like your pacing and like the punchline. And yeah, I mean, it's like nervousness. Like if there's a heckler, you feel like, what the fuck am I going to say? Shocked. All this shit. I mean, you have to a lot of it is stand-up is just managing your emotions, right? So
yes.
The big insight is like everything is okay to feel. Nothing is really going to impact. It's the problem is when you think it's a problem, then it's a problem. But if you realize that it's not, then once you realize that it's like truly not an issue, it's really that's really what it is. You know, that's really like mastery of stand-up is like mastering like what you're feeling internally. Because every negative thing that you can feel can be turned into something positive, right? So like if you're nervous, that means you're more alert. That means you're sharper. On the flip side, if you feel dull or tired, that means you're more relaxed and you can like, you know, you're more relaxed. If you're like self-conscious or whatever, that means you're just sharper on your jokes and like you're like more in tune. So every negative thing can be turned positive. And so that's why like nothing is a problem.
I love what you say. And the follow-up question I have for you, since I've never looked at the open mic scene in New York, I only know about the open mic scene in LA. In New York, if it's a heavily comedian, as in stand-up comedian attended open mic, do the comedians kind of purposely not show emotion?
Not purposely, but they're so jaded. So that's the difference between New York City and like a lot of other cities is and everywhere else, maybe not LA, but every other city, there's going to be non-comedians there when you go to an open mic.
Mhm.
And so you can actually get a good read on material because it's regular people, whereas comedians have a really fucked up sense of humor. And open micers also are like looking for like joke structure too. So when you do New York City open mics, your shit tends to be very weird and dark. Like the shit that works tend to be very weird and dark. And so that's why like I'd say this, like if you're a New York open micer, I'd say like do as many open mics you can for about 1.5 to 2 years and then get the fuck out. Do anything you can to stop doing them and just do real shows.
Mhm.
Because it's good at teaching you structure or whatever, but like, yeah, comics are just have a weird sense of humor. So what works in front of them isn't necessarily going to work in front of a crowd. So you gotta bark, or you gotta seat people at the club, or you gotta do whatever. You do the Bringer at Broadway. Like just get whatever you can to get real stage time and get out of mics. Because I've seen so many people just get stuck. They're like, I'm not gonna bark. I'm not gonna do whatever, and then they're just stuck in open mics. And it's been, they've been doing comedy longer than I have. It's been 10 years and they're fucking nowhere. And they still don't have a good sense of how to handle a crowd. So you gotta get out. You gotta get out of that. If you're in a local scene, though, I mean, you can kind of do it as long as you want because there's real people there. So
The reason I mention it is because LA is it's big city, right? Just like New York. So when in 2015, maybe a little bit 2016, yeah, I went to open mics just to test myself and just to get a new experience.
Yeah.
And I remember very clearly the only positive emotion you might get from fellow comedians is they might snap a little. If they really enjoyed your joke, but they don't want to laugh, they'll snap a little.
they were
So,
snapping.
yeah. Does that happen in New York?
That's so fucking gay. No.
No, that does happen. In LA, it was like they purposely don't show emotion. It could be like you said, Alvin, maybe they're jaded. So it's not like they're purposely shit testing you, but they're also jaded.
Yeah.
And then if you have something really funny, you'll get this.
That's so stupid. I mean, like that's, yeah. I mean, comics, like open micers will have like a fake laugh, or because like they're jaded, so they won't really laugh at anything anymore besides their own shitty act. But like they'll do a fake laugh, or if they acknowledge something is good, they'll be like, ha, like they'll do ha ha ha, like it's a fake laugh. But I guess it's better than nothing. Right?
Yeah.
It's terrible. I mean, it's New York open mics are fucking terrible. Any open mic is just
it is a little terrible, but it's also really funny to see the cultural differences between coasts. Like I've heard some of the fake laughs before, but usually back then, again, that was 10 years ago, guys. So take what I say with a grain of salt. In LA, so it was always this. If they liked your joke, no other emotion.
yeah.
I only got that once. That's how I was like, I celebrated that. I went home, I called my mom. I was like, I got a bunch of these, because
Sure.
my hair, I started noticing my hair receding in 2015. That's part of the reason I said I need to do something with my life that's not like follow the path. I'm like, what if this loses completely? It's like, I want to do something with my life before I lose my hair completely. So that's when I just up and went to LA. And so like when I was in LA, I'm like, what does LA have to offer? So I took like improv classes, of course. And then I went to open mics because these are things you can't get in other places as easily. But the open mic scene was just so interesting because I obviously, just like you, like I thought I had a sense of humor. I also felt like my sense of humor probably peaked, right? So like felt like I was fighting an uphill battle.
What I love about LA is this. LA is very diverse, which means you get a lot of different types of kind of ignorant questions asked about you. I was at a Mexican store once, and I was doing small chat, doing a little chit chat with the store owner, and she's like, "Oh, so where are you from?" I said, "I'm from China," and she's like, "What part of China?" I'm like, "Southwest China." So she's like, "So Southwest China, is that the Japanese part or the Korean part of China?" If you noticed, my hair is receding a little bit. So I started taking saw palmetto because it apparently blocks the hormone that makes your hair stop growing. So I started taking it for a while. It was working, but then it made me constipated. So I started taking medication on top of that to make me poop better. But then that made my stomach a little bad. So I started taking stomach medication to block heartburn. And then that made me anxious. And when I get anxious, I pull out my hair.
What's funny is eventually part of what made fight commentary breakdowns have success was I took that stand-up comedy brain that I thought I had and I applied it to fight commentary. So a lot of those early 2016 and some 2017 clips on my channel, which unfortunately I've had to hide or like censor out because of how YouTube is, like a lot of them were like super like funny roasty type of like Jerry humor.
Were you saying like wild shit?
I was saying wild shit, man. I was saying really funny stuff. People loved my sense of humor, but now it's too offensive. So I've literally had to take some of those videos down. Or sometimes one time, one of the guys I roasted years later found it, took it down. And I was like, you know what? It's fine because that video is so outdated to our current zeitgeist and it's going to get me in trouble one day. It's a blessing he took it down. So, and I actually became friends with him. I called him and he was like, oh, dude, I didn't like the video, but I appreciate you calling. And then we talked for an hour and then we started talking. So it's like, you know, still talking about how Alvin turns lemons into lemonade, right? Turn lemon into lemonade. But long story short, I credit a lot of my early success with fight commentary beyond the fact that I was able to establish contact and went out of my way to establish contact with fight leagues. I was able to be funny the way I wanted to be funny, that maybe I felt like the open mic crowd didn't laugh, but I knew deep down in her I was funny and I was proven on YouTube.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, if you're really, I think people just like seeing people do things that they really want to do. Like if it's like people like watching authentic stuff. You know? Yeah. It's kind of like that Taoism thing of like, I don't know. It's kind of like if it's like authentic, like behavior, like way, like very natural behavior. People like to see that. And so if you're really doing something like that you like, yeah, it's gonna register with somebody.
What is the friend circle like for a stand-up comedian? Are your friends stand-up comedians? Or are they mostly non-stand-up comedians? They're kind of 50-50.
No, it's mostly comics now. I mean, I've kind of lost touch with a lot of people that I was friends with in college or high school or just the life is so different and then like you can't complain about the same shit. Like people just don't get it. I mean, I'm still friends with a couple people that I grew up with, but besides that, it's mostly comics. And even like the friends I'm with comedians, it's like a small circle. Because comedy is it's like anything else. There's a lot of fake people too, and a lot of social climbers. It's actually probably worse in comedy. So anytime I smell that on someone, like just not being authentic, like having like ulterior motives, I can't stand it. It's just very annoying to talk to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly comics, dude.
With these comic friends, do you guys ever workshop jokes or anything like that?
Sometimes we'll run shit by each other. Like, oh, do you think this is funny? Or like, oh, I have a bit. And then, and then we'll just get a read. But I mean, the only way to get a read is like the crowd, honestly.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I've had it before where like, you know, a friend will like tell a bit and then it'll work in front of a crowd. But I'm like, dude, that's just hack. And then they'll be like, okay, I'll drop it. And I've had like people say that to me too. And so like I've dropped the jokes.
Interesting.
Yeah, your friends, you got to have like friends who are willing to be honest with you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I once had this bit and then my friend was like, dude, it's just jarring. It just doesn't fit in with like who you are. And I'm like, all right, drop it.
I see what you mean. So like maybe some of the laughter was more like that surprise laughter, not like, oh, it was funny, it was deep.
I think it was more like, that's not like, I don't know. It was just like, that's just not who you are. Or like, that's just a weird thing to say. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't like, if I was really passionate about it, I'd still keep it. But if I didn't care, so I'm like, yeah, it's probably whatever. And then like 3 of my friends told me that. Also a big thing too is like comedy is a lot. There's a lot of like parallel thought. So a lot of times you'll come up with some shit that like another comic has like talked about before. Yeah. And sometimes you'll inadvertently like say something that's been said before, in which case your comic friends will be like, oh dude, that's like a Carlin bit, or like that's like a Louis bit. And then you'll be like, oh shit. And then you have to stop saying it. Like one of my friends, dude, I was doing like this bit that like Dane Cook did in 2002. And I was like, and then sometimes when you look it up, you're like, because a lot of times when people online will be like, oh, you took that from someone else, you'll look it up and you'll be like, this is just the same topic, but the jokes are completely different. Yeah. So a lot of times it's completely like, you're like, okay, it's fine. But this bit, I literally like said the same thing word for word. with Dane Cook 2002, and I'm like, holy shit, that one you gotta drop. Because it's like, dude, that's just, and it's not like I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
It was literally parallel thought, and I'm just like, holy shit, we literally started the same fucking punchline. Yeah. So that happens. So that's what your friends are good for too. Is
It's sort of funny in the YouTube world. Remember when epic rap battles of history first came on to the scene?
Yeah.
There was another channel, just a random high schooler, and he had the same idea. So he created a channel called Epic Rap Battles 10, and then people were like, dude, you're just copying epic rap battles of history. And he's like, no, I didn't even know they existed. I just thought it would be funny if like characters rap battle each other. But then it's like, because everyone was like, oh, epic rap battles, they're higher quality. They did it first. So this channel, I mean, the guy wrote good lyrics. He was just in high school. He didn't have the best production quality. And then epic rap battles of history came along before him that he didn't even know about. So yeah, it happens a lot.
It happens a lot. Yeah. And people are always like online will always be like, oh, you're stealing whatever. And it's just like, dude, I've heard like so many comics have like just similar thoughts, and it's just like it's just what's going to happen. There's that many comics, only so much to talk about.
Yeah,
and, like, something big happens. A lot of people are going to see like the funny thing. I do like though when like I tell a joke or like I post it, and then a bunch of people think of like the same tag or punchline, and I didn't say that. I'm like, I'm happy, because if I said the same thing, then I'm not even like professionally like at least like my shit is like original. I'm glad I didn't go into like the hacky direction that a lot of people like went into, you know.
Oh, that's an interesting thought process. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like people would just come with the same tag over and over in the comments, or like I'll be like, thank God I didn't write that.
How often do you have to deal with hecklers?
Dude, it's crazy because like I deal with hecklers a lot. Like I get it too, because like some of the things I say can upset people, and I totally get like why I would have to do that. But just a lot of shows, like it's never perfect, you know, like unless you make it and like it's a whole theater coming to see you. Like, dude, a comedy club, it's like literally you're watching a guy on stage. It's so accessible. People are drinking, like people are just gonna shout. So I feel like the majority of shows I'm dealing with something. Like it's never smooth. Like actually, maybe not the majority, maybe like 40% of shows I'm like dealing with something in the crowd.
Wow.
So you have to, and also like for the longest time I performed at this club called LOL Comedy Club in Times Square, where it was basically a scam. They would just scam tourists basically. But as a comic, you were just like, it was like a really rowdy crowd every night. So every night, like I would be dealing with like angry customers and people being like, fuck this shit. And that place kind of prepared me for anything, because I don't really care about what happens on stage now, just because as long as you have like, you can really do anything you want in comedy. If your reaction is like authentic, honestly, you can make anything work. So anything that happens, if you just respond to it, it's fine. I mean, you have the phone.
Fucking lady up there thought I was her waiter. She's like, are you my... Didn't respond to her, just walked down the stairs. Not... In a corporate environment, you can't really be yourself, you know? They ask you in a job interview, are you still talking about the waiter shit? Jesus Christ. You hear that? Not enough she fucking asked me to get her drinks even though I don't fucking work here. She's fucking heckling in the middle of my set. He is a waiter. He does look like a fucking waiter. Shut the fuck up, dude. Jesus Christ. But he does. He does look like a waiter. I'm gonna get off stage. He's gonna be like, that waiter was pretty good at stand-up. I think he was pretty good. I wasn't expecting that from the service. He's gonna get an extra tip, I think. Anyway, thank you very much. Fine, thank you. Please stop talking. Anyways,
wow, 40%. That's that really puts a lot of things into perspective.
Like, please, if you go to a comedy show, just shut the fuck up. But people just don't get that.
Talking about shutting the fuck up, I noticed within the past 5 years, and maybe this is just a delayed noticing. It always happened, but I remember even in college when Shane Wayne came to my college, okay, nobody made this sound. Oh, you know, like their offended sound. Like it's happening so much in the crowd now. Do you notice that?
Yeah, definitely. Or
so
like,
it has emerged more. People are like more comfortable making that sound. Even I tell people that destroys the vibe of the room. Stop making that sound. Keep that sound to yourself.
Sometimes it can make it better, because like comedy is fun. Like comedy is the best when there's some people who don't like it. That's what makes it fun, right? Is like if like 80-90% are like having a great time and there's like 20% who hate it, that's gonna make the 80% be like, this is great because he's saying this crazy shit. So I've had like great sets where like someone has booed me, but like the rest of the crowd is like loving it. But like some fat lesbian hates it. It's fine. It's fine. And it's like nothing against them. You know, you can hate it. You're allowed to hate it. That's why like cancel culture is like, it's like whatever, dude. Like you're held accountable for what you say. Like freedom of speech is like the government can't arrest you for what you say, but like people have the right to hate you and your stand-up. That's fine. So I just take it like, this is my sense of humor, and I fully take responsibility for saying whatever I want to say.
I like your approach, and that's why. Like when I see your comedy, I enjoy it a lot. It's the Alvin. It also is interesting too, because going back to that topic, okay, like what punchlines, what jokes are inherently you, right? It's like you also have to be like, okay, what is something I really talking about dropping all the masks and stuff like that? What is something that like when I drop all the masks, I'm comfortable doing versus something that it might be funny, but it's like I'm still putting on a mask to like tell that joke.
I think if you want to do like a character or whatever, if you want to see, the problem is like, I don't think there's a problem with putting on a mask per se. It's more like, because if you want to do a character or if you want to be like fake, because like I'm an elevated version, because I'm not like this on stage, I'm an elevated version, right? It's because I want to do. But the problem is like if you start doing something out of a perceived obligation, like, oh, I have to do this because it makes people laugh, rather than like I want to do this. And if it's out of I have to, then that's the problem. Yeah. Does that make sense, or am I just talking?
That makes a lot of sense. It again, I think back on the last comedy show I went to, and like all the comics were funny, but I just remember there was one girl, I could tell she had a better sense of humor than this, but too many of her jokes were about sex. And it's like I know she's the type because she's pretty. She like felt like it's the obligation of her to like make a lot of jokes sexual because she's a girl who gets sexualized. But it's like no, you have a more genuine thing, like bartender. Obviously she told jokes about bartending, but she has a sister. She told jokes about. She has a dog. I don't think there's any jokes about her dog. Like there's other things you could tell she cared about that she could actually talk about life and be more relatable. But too much of it was about sex and all that, and just like it got old. And I still felt she was funny. I even put her on some of my videos, but like I knew like I didn't get to know her well enough to sit down with her. I'm not gonna waste my time if you don't think of me as a friend. But like if I got to know her better, I would sit down with her and be like, yo, like. Talk more about like the stuff that you really care about, not what you think like society wants a pretty girl to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Like anytime you see someone who's like not funny, it's because they're like forcing it.
Yeah.
You're like it just feels very forced.
Yeah.
And it's just because they're doing something that they think will work rather than something that they want to do.
There was a person in my acting class. He wasn't even funny, but he was forcing everything. Like you could just tell, like certain people, they walk around like, why are they so tense? It's because like even their body movements are forced.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't get to know him. Well, partly he rubbed people wrong a lot because he was so forced that like sometimes we just rubbed people wrong. But I remember a few of us in the class one time we were just talking. We're like, dude, this dude he's a talented musician. He can be funny. If he just like dropped this trying to force himself, he actually would be more comfortable.
Yeah, just chill out. And it's like an insecurity thing, right? Like it's a deep rooted. It takes time to get rid of that.
So much time.
As a comic, you always have to be working on yourself as a person, because there's a lot of people who like in their daily life, because that's when they're most comfortable sitting at home. But even when they're sitting at home, they still have the walls up. So if that doesn't come down, how do you expect the walls to come down when you're on stage and you have a bunch of people staring at you? So like you always have to work on yourself, like as a person. Because otherwise you're just going to reach like a ceiling to like how good you can get.
There was another guy in my acting school, but not in the class, but in my acting class, you could sit in on other classes, right? So I met this guy, but he had a joke. He had a quip every minute. And the acting coach kept calling him out. It's like, yes, you think you're funny, but that's you putting on a facade. Nobody has a funny joke every minute.
Right.
So I was like, wow, that's brilliant. This
Yeah.
acting coach is like being really genuine with him, but it's true. Like he's got so much pre-planned canned material ready to be just shouted out, right? But like that's not genuine. That's still a facade.
No. And you look at you look at the best comics, like in my opinion, the best comics, they're not telling like jokey jokes. It's like they're just saying what they feel, and then that's funny.
Yeah.
Because like jokes are fine, you can have some great jokes with like a, setup, punch, twist, pun, etc. Some of them can be great, but like that's never going to be the highest level. The highest level is always just something that kind of flows out of you that you naturally say, and then that's just like hilarious. Because that's when you're funniest, right? Is like when you're with your friends and you're just like talking. That's when you're hilarious.
Yeah.
But if you're like, where's the punchlines? Like you just become like insufferable to be around.
Yeah. And Alvin, to big credit to you. Like when I first discovered your comedy, I'm like, oh, that's the little Alvin that grew up. I still see that guy in him. So you did a good job. I was like, this is exactly the Alvin that I remember from back when I was in middle school. If he grew up, this is exactly the humor I would have expected. Like, so you did a good job being genuine to yourself.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm not there yet, but I'm just working on it every day.
Yeah.
Just working on it.
Yeah. So I guess the final question is, what does a stand-up comedian do besides stand-up comedy? What else do you do?
Well, I do train like jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hey, I got a girlfriend. Well, she's my fiance now. So.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. So we just walk around the city, do a bunch of couple stuff. We play like video games a lot too. We play like Borderlands a lot. So yeah, just go to the gym, chill out, with my girl. Pretty boring.
Is your fiance a stand-up comedian too?
No. You can't. Most of those don't work out. There's too much crazy in one relationship because I'm a psycho, and every comic is a psycho. You have to do that in relationships. It's just too much. So she works she works at a hospital. So her head is like very grounded.
Sometimes you need that yin and the yang. So
you need it. Yeah, you need it.
Yeah,
and it's good too because her sense of humor is like great. Like, because she doesn't get offended at anything, so we say crazy shit to each other. And a lot of times, like I'll see a stand-up, like get with someone who like doesn't, like almost hates comedy, like almost like hates like when people say crazy shit, and it's like, how can you be around that?
Yeah,
like your like sense of humor is wild, and like you just have to repress that when you're around like someone that you supposedly love the most. I don't know, I could never do it.
Has your sister or your parents ever come to your shows?
Never. Because I talk about like sex stuff. If I'm like imitating jerking off in front of my mom, I mean, dude, that'd be crazy.
That makes sense. Have they expressed interest in coming to your shows?
I think they want to, but I maybe if I can like sell out like a theater, they can come. Whereas so if I'm doing like a jerking off motion, they're like, well, at least it's in Carnegie Hall, it's fine. But if I'm just doing it at a comedy club with like surrounded by like people eating chicken tenders, they're like, holy shit, I really fucked this kid up. So maybe it might be a little bit.
Me and my girl, man, we're getting older, which kind of changes things in the bedroom a little bit. Like the other day, my girl was trying to act sexy, and she goes to lift her leg up, and then I heard her joints crack 3 times. Just ka! I was like, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? She was like, you like that? I'm like, I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. That was gross. Dude, we didn't even have sex after that. We just took fish oil supplements and called it a day. I mean, it's over. That's not good foreplay, is thinking your girl fucking paralyzed herself. Honestly, too, I think her cracking her back is going to make her feel better than anything could do with my dick. So I'm just like, listen, you already climaxed, right? Next time you want to come, just book a chiropractor session. But is that our future? You gotta warm up before sex, Like before sex, it just be like, I'm about to rock your world. You have no idea. I'm about to fuck. No, stay right there. You have no. Give me 20 minutes.
I could imagine though that at least your sister has seen clips of you online, right?
Yeah, my sister I don't mind as much. She can come to the show. I don't know. She's cool, but my parents would be crazy.
Naturally, a lot of my channels, if you search me up, you can find it. But I think it took me a few years even to really show my parents like my fight commentary breakdowns channel, because back then I did say a lot of like offensive stuff on it, right? So I was like, I don't want them seeing some of my stuff. But eventually I showed it to them. But it's different because by the time I showed it to them, I was already starting to mellow out because I saw what direction society was going. So I was like, well, they'll be subscribed. They might get recommended some of the old stuff, but most of the new stuff, it's not going to be like joking about calling people fat or whatever, all that stuff millennials are used to doing.
How did they react to like you like doing this whole other career? Were they mad at you?
I think they're still pretty worried. So, I'm a few years older than you, so I guess the writing on the wall is your parents will probably still be worried.
No, my parents are definitely worried. Yeah, they're definitely. They're more accepting of it now, whereas before they were like completely opposed. Which I don't blame them. It's a crazy thing to pursue.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, my shock, because I found your channel before I knew it was you.
Mhm.
Like the shock I had when I was like, dude, that's Jerry from second grade. Like, dude, this world's crazy, man. I can't believe I just couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it was you, dude.
Wow. Well, I'm really glad you found my channel before I reached out to you. That shows my channel
I
was
watched a
reaching
bunch of videos and I was like, I didn't even connect it because I hadn't talked to you since you were a kid, so I wouldn't recognize. And you were wearing glasses back then too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was wearing glasses and I still wear glasses, but today I was just in a contact mode. Funny story. I'm doing PT because I hurt my ankle and the PT's pretty cute. So it's like, okay, let's wear contacts. Man,
No
but
good,
she
man.
actually she's
You're going through
leaving.
PT with an erection the whole time.
That would have been interesting. That I would have had to like do different neck bridge. No, not neck bridge. Sure, neck bridge. Anything to get the blood away, right? I would have to do those PT exercises.
Just have a massive heart on while she's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, how's the Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu training going?
It's fun. It's fun. It's really exhausting, but it's so fun. It's so fun. Like, yeah, and like our gym spars like reasonably too. If I went to a gym that was like sparring hard all the time, I just wouldn't. I couldn't cut it. I'm just not built for that. I don't have the mental fortitude to do that. But like training's pretty chill, so
That's good.
I'm loving it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, that's great because I remember when I reconnected with you back when I saw your comedy and you were thinking about starting Muay Thai. So I'm really glad you went for it.
Yeah, it's great. And I hate, like, I love playing basketball, but like in New York City, it's hard to find like an indoor court without you having to pay up the ass. And then like I was always interested in martial arts, so this is great like cardio. Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai is great cardio.
Yeah,
and because I hate running too, it's so annoying. So it's just a great way to like exercise.
I got my bad ankle injury from running, so more reason not to run, especially in New York. Dude, so many potholes. I can't even imagine running in. I was running in the neighborhood in the suburb, and there was a pothole, and I tripped in it. So yeah, like, can you imagine running in New York, man?
Yeah, well, the scenery is really nice.
That's true. You do have Central Park. You do have like beautiful skyscrapers. That's something I miss about New York. I need to visit you in New York sometime.
Yeah, dude, New York is the shit.
Dude, I'll come to your show. I'm gonna cheer. I'll be like, yeah.
Don't lie, dude. Be good.
Yeah. Do you have a YouTube channel, by the way, or is it mostly Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like
I
that?
do. Yeah, I just post the same content. I'll post like compilations. It's growing a little bit, but it's not. I'm not like 16,000 or whatever. It's not very big.
Okay, 60,000 is really good. I'm telling you, the YouTube algorithms change so much. Oh, you're at 17,000. The YouTube algorithms change so much that it's really hard for new people now. So I always tell people, like, even if you got to 100 subscribers, celebrate, man. It's really much harder because it's so saturated. Dude, good job at 17,000 subscribers, bro.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I don't like study any algorithm anymore. I used to be very keen on like what we work on like Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't care anymore, and so I just post whenever I want to.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way. I mean, late last year, I was like trying to study the algorithm, and then eventually I'm like, it goes back to the whole thing about personas, right? I was like, let's just be genuinely myself. You could try to study the algorithm, like, what do I do in my videos, or like, what do I know, what feels authentic, and this year especially, a lot of my content's become more news stuff because that's my training. I've always been a journalist.
Yeah.
So it's like I started incorporating more expert voices. Oh, okay. What if it doesn't reach? What doesn't matter? It's mine. Yeah. It's my genuine type of content, right? That makes you proud.
Yeah, I mean, you can fail at, like, I think Jim Carrey said this. He's like, you can fail at doing something that you hate. So like, why not fail at doing something you love?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's a great way to end this talk, man. I love that quote. That was great. Great quote.
Not mine.
But that's how we learn, right? We learn from the best.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So guys, this was Alvin Kuai.
Thanks for having me, dude. It was great talking to you, bro.
Like I was walking around the city a couple weeks ago, and I like really had to take a shit. I had to shit like really bad. Then out of nowhere, this homeless guy was like, oh! I got so scared. I made the same sound he did. I was like, oh! And then I didn't have to shit anymore. What happened? I just shit for the next 13 hours. Like, did it jump back into my esophagus? It just sucked back to my body. I skipped like a whole cycle. And the crazy thing is, my next shit wasn't twice as big. It was normal size. So it actually disappeared. It actually vanished. I felt like a magician. I'm Chris Angel. I think I'm a mind freak. I think. Because my friend told me, he was like, dude, I shit my pants recently. And I'm like, okay, you didn't have to tell me that. And then he was like, you know what, though? It's because I thought it would be like a fart, so I let it out. I'm like, obviously, dude. Thinking it's a fart and letting it out is the only acceptable reason to shit your pants as an adult. What's the alternative? What do you think, it was a poop and you pushed, you psycho? That's crazy, dude. I mean, to feel something solid down there and be like, I'm gonna let it fly. I should either be in prison to be like the next president of the United States, I think, because that's the type of confidence we need to make America great again, in my opinion.